Well, hey everybody. In this video, I'm going to be engaging with a stand-up from comedian Pete Holmes, who's doing a very interesting bit that has to do with atheism.
Some people think God created the universe. Some people think nothing created the universe, which is the funniest guess.
I just gotta say, that's one of the funniest just one-liners I've ever heard. That's the funniest guess about what created the universe.
And the nothing people make fun of the God people. They say God doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, maybe. But you know what definitely doesn't exist? Nothing. That's the defining characteristic of nothing, is that it doesn't exist. So what are we talking about? Either you think it's God, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove, or you think it's nothing, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove. But I think we can all agree, if your nothing sometimes spontaneously erupts into everything, that's a pretty goddamn magical nothing, you guys. And ask the nothing people, what happens when you die? They'll tell you, nothing. You go into nothing. I'm like, you mean you merge back with your creator? That's heaven.
The last part has no real point. That's just a funny one-liner about merging back in with your creator. But it is interesting because he's doing a bit here. I mean, he's doing this for comic effect. And at the same time, the point that he's bringing up, especially the point that he brought up about if you're nothing sometimes suddenly erupts into everything, is a point that for, I mean, at least for decades, Christians have been bringing up in sort of the, I won't say creation evolution, just sort of creation materialism or creation atheism idea, which keeps drawing back to the idea of, all right, ultimately, you are believing that everything came out of nothing because you're saying that there was no originating event or no originator of the event, because they do believe in an originating event. But at some point, there was nothing, and then that became everything. A lot of Christians have said over the years it takes more faith to believe in that than to believe that there is an eternal, almighty being who set things into motion. For me, I find that eminently easier to believe, even if, and this doesn't prove Christianity at all. It just goes to the idea of, all right, there's some creator, there's some initiator, there's some being that set things into motion that's outside of the universe enough that he could create the universe, but is involved enough that he set the universe in motion. I think as Christians, there are certain things that when we're out of step with sort of pop culture or maybe with academia, we get into a mode where we start feeling very apologetic about what we believe. And this happens all the time with abortion, where we suddenly end up in this weird mode where we're sort of like, hey, I'm pro-life, but I'm still a good person. I think that this can happen also with things like creationism, where we're like, hey, I do believe in God, but hey, I'm not stupid. I don't think that we need to do that. I don't think that we need to give the qualifier and act like we're the ones with an untenable position. We believe that there is an almighty being who created everything. Those who don't believe that there was nothing and then there was everything. And that's a lot harder to believe. And sometimes it takes a comedian to bring that up in a creative way to make it seem the way that it really is.